Joy, just need to give me the share or make me the host real quick, and then I can take it from here.
You're good to go.
All right. We just hit 8 o'clock a.m., and so we are live right now. Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, April the 12th. Meteorologist Shea Gibson here with Sailflow to bring you the daily briefing for today's race. Looks like yesterday there's some things to talk about as the weather shifted late afternoon, or about mid to late afternoon, actually, as some convection moved into the area. So Ed and I will be covering that here momentarily. Real quick, let me go through the next slide. Myself, Ed Baird, Hall of Famer and legend, is with me today, and we do have Scott Herman's going to do a blurb here in just a minute about Spectrum Sailing. Real quick housekeeping rules. If you're watching Facebook Live for this, you can ask a question in the comments. Joy will be watching that, reporting any technical issues you may have, and then provide any commentary or feedback. We'd love to hear that. We can field that through the race and improve on that for tomorrow's briefing. Quick shameless plug for us at Sailflow. If you haven't tried the app, it's a free download. There's also free pro membership access all through the weekend, so you get to try everything in there, including the pro forecast and all the model suite, along with nautical charts and everything else. Any questions, contact me at shay.gibson@tempest.earth. All right, Scott, over to you. If anybody missed this yesterday, we talked about Spectrum Sailing and how it benefits the autistic world. And my son has done this 2 times. It's wonderful, I can say. So if you need any kind of reference, I can give it to you. But Scott, go ahead and take it away. You're in Texas right now, correct?
Yeah, we're hosting a camp currently in Texas. We're at Lakewood Yacht Club this weekend. As you see our schedule, we have 12 cities across the country this year that will be in, sailing with 250 autistic kids. All of our programming is free for our families that participate, and the only way we can really do that is through support from the community and sailors across the country. So if you see our camp coming near you, where you guys are located, we'd love to have you come out and volunteer. Also, anyone that would like to support our programming, you can go to spectrumsailing.org and donate there to make sure that we can continue to get these special kids out on the water.
Thank you very much, Scott. Best of luck with your camp this year. I know you've got several that are full, and so if you're interested in joining this, you better do it soon because these camps fill up. And I tell you what, it's a good time, and you guys do a great job, Scott. Thank you so much. Best of luck. I'll see you in Charleston soon. Okay, everybody, back to the forecast. Daily starts. Course pursuit class at 9:30 a.m. Offshore RRC Circle 5, 12 o'clock. Inshore circles 11 a.m. Yesterday, we saw that westerly flow holding up until about 12 or so before fading out. And so real quick, I'm just going to stop share. And Ed, we saw the winds, this westerly flow. There was some oscillation up to that northwest direction, right? I mean, we talked about that being the case. A little bit wonky out there on direction with it veering, backing. We did see that 12 to 16 knot mark hold until about noon, 12:30 or so, and then it started to ease down, right? So how did that hold up on the course for you, and then how did that impact? Did you see the northern side of the circles being a little, have more holes in it, or give us a little bit of rundown?
Well, sure. Well, first and foremost, the 3 inshore courses that we had a look at yesterday, current was a huge factor, and I think there were a lot of large giveaways by teams by miscalculating that current. And I just want to remind everybody how important it is to stay up current, when there's any doubt about what's going to happen next. Make sure you don't get caught, too close to the gates or too far away from the starting line, to do your maneuvers. But what we saw, basically it was a lot like what you described yesterday morning, a little more right influence at the beginning of the day with a little bit more, trying to pull around towards the north a little bit. And then as the day went on and the breeze got a little softer and started to waffle a little bit back and forth, we really saw that left side of things on the picture there. You can see how the morning, the breeze tended to try and come out of the right-hand side of the rivers there. And then as the day went on, it pulled more and came out of the left. And certainly up on course 1, which was the closest to Charleston, it got very light and very holy at the end of the day. And we saw a lot of people that allowed themselves to get a little too close to the buildings of Charleston, and then they would run out of breeze. So that's definitely something to pay attention to, is that the breeze would much prefer to flow down the rivers than it would be to come over the trees and buildings. So you know, you want to stay out there where you're going to get the best pressure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ed. Yeah, I mean, we saw that 12 to 16 mark come up around 10. It was a little stubborn to get up there through the start, some of the 9:30 starts, but it did come up. It held until about 12:30, faded down, saw some oscillation going on. And I think what was happening yesterday is we had a little bit of a struggle from that westerly, that zonal flow versus what was going on inland with some storm activity and some instability. And once that started to head to the coast, we had that peak afternoon heating period between 1 and 3 p.m. Then that instability started to increase with that moisture moving into the area. We saw the winds fully back southwest, even at some of the beaches. But inside the harbor, it started out as a southeast wind. And that I pretty much was under the assumption a lot of these races would be wrapped up by then. But like you said in our pre-meeting, there was some delays on some of the races. So I'm going to carry this forecast today through about 5 p.m. just in case we see any delays in any of the race rings today. But you can see here everything really kind of turned upwards around 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m. with the winds, with that storm activity. The sea breeze actually fired off because of the storm activity inland. It pulled the winds towards them. So you have this inflow that shifted the winds. It's very tricky stuff, but we saw what happened. The storms developed around 6, 7 o'clock p.m. and started heading east. And we saw some lightning and rainbows and whatnot. But either way, very, very tricky weather for Charleston. It's always interesting here. Let me go back to the deck real quick and carry this forward. Tide information for today. We're going to have a max ebb at about 1 o'clock p.m. Slack begins at 9:05 a.m. this morning. So that means there's about a 20-minute window right at the race starts at 9:30. We'll see that ebb start to begin. So you'll see the tide going out. I think today, minus 1.94 knots. The thing that I see about this is that the tidal swing is going to be closer to 6 feet versus 5 feet like yesterday. We're on a full moon today. It is an apogee moon, but it's going to be a normal tidal flux of about 6 feet for this one, which means I think it's going to be a little bit faster. So, yeah, I'm calling about 2.2 knots on this one. Ed, yesterday on the course, what did you think about the current? Do you think it was a little bit faster than what the NOAA Tides and Currents is showing for the number? It's more of a virtual sounding, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't have any kind of measurement tool, but it certainly seemed powerful. And definitely anywhere near the channels, you were seeing quite substantial flow. And I do think that it looked like it was a little more than the day before. And I think, like I said, a fair amount of people didn't put enough credence in what was happening with the current, you know, to properly think it through, and they got surprised. You know, ley lines came up quick on the downwind legs, and the starting line was farther upwind than they thought because the current was against them. So things like that are important to consider before the race starts.
Sure. Okay, thank you very much. As I'm showing here, max ebb across that south channel really pulls through. You're going to see the strongest right down the middle. And even, you know, if you're up in this area moving over, you're going to see that current pulling down as well. So this is the max ebb on the south channel for that. Going offshore, you'll see that pulling through the jetties, so leaving a little bit faster than 2.2, might even be 2.5, closer to 2.7 as you get offshore going through those jetties. So just be aware of that. Current's going to be a little stronger than what you think or what the prediction says on the line right down those channels. I tried to get those points as exact as possible. And I think Katie Kirk, if you watch that video, is a great video that she had. She shows all about where the points are. And I think this round I helped her with a study that she just wrapped up, but there's more points out towards the race ring and through the jetties where we're actually getting some more valuable data from that. And hopefully we'll see that flowing out early next year. So with that said, let me go ahead and go to the surface map. Let's just take a quick look at what's going on around the country and zooming into our area, why we're getting the weather we are. Right now we have this low pressure that's it's expanded up and down the Carolina coast up towards the mid-Atlantic. This is the main low right here, the parent low. We have troughing and sort of a double cold front activity to the south. But this one right here, you can see the parent because of the occluded front wrapping into it. So it's trying to dispel the warm air and pull up the warm air around it And with that said, with high pressure digging in across the Ohio Valley, these two combined are bringing a northerly flow down across our area. That's going to continue to be the case. We're going to hold that northerly flow till 3-4 o'clock today. We could see, if these winds fade enough, we could see a sea breeze develop if the sun is abundant and we get some warming. We're only supposed to get up to about 68 to 69 degrees today, but we'll see this northerly flow between the low and the high. And the gradient is not that steep. So it starts out a little bit on the moderate side, and then it lightens through the day as this southern low aggregates around this parent low farther to the north. We're going to be driven mainly this afternoon or late morning to afternoon by this high pressure pulling down from the Ohio Valley down across the Tennessee Valley. So that's what's driving the weather for today. If you look at visible satellite, you see the upper level winds fading from the west. It looks like that northerly push is occurring. A few clouds here and there are starting to break up as cooler, drier air is moving into the area. I don't anticipate any storms. We could see some storm activity develop with northwest flow late, just like yesterday, 6-7 o'clock, as that low wraps around some of that northwest flow down slope from the Appalachian Mountains. We could see some storms, but that would be much later. I don't think we need to worry about that through the race today. So that's some good news. Right now we're seeing 12, 14 knots. Let me get the winds plus gust map activated here. We're seeing 14 knots. I anticipate we'll keep this 11 to 15 knot range going through. Those race starts at 9:30. And then as the day goes on, the trim here showing a downward trend. I mean, I tend to agree with this. I think the northerly winds in this case hold up a little bit longer and a little bit stronger on the higher end of this. So I'm a little more optimistic. We'll hold that 11 to 15 through at least 10, 11 o'clock. And then we see a downward trend about midday. We could see some ups and downs in the wind field as that gradient tries to hang on, and then it pinches off, it relaxes, and then tightens again, and it just tries to hang on until that low scoots up towards the mid-Atlantic. And then we see a general fade. Now, into the afternoon, 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'd say between 2 and 3, this northwest flow that's forecast could start a little bit earlier. And what I mean is that once we get northerly winds that start to fade towards 10 knots, the land influences with sun, heating, everything starts to impact these winds, and we start to see this westerly element enter into the field. And what happens is we get a backing wind. So I would anticipate somewhere around 1 o'clock, start to watch that wind go from, maybe a 280 all the way to a 300. And then we start to see that 10, I mean, not the 10 to 20s, but we start backing more towards, the 340 range. And then we start backing even more. So watch that northwest turn in the afternoon. It could actually go a little more west than what we're showing here. I don't think we'll get a full 270 till late afternoon, but that could occur around 4 o'clock. And if it falls, if the wind speeds get down to 4 to 8 knots by this time period as the winds start to back, it's really important to remember that a sea breeze could occur. And that happens a lot when we get this background flow that starts to fade, and we get the heating of the heating element, and the thermals start to rise. Our waters are right around 68 degrees, not quite warm enough to fire this off earlier, or else it would happen around noon. But I think once the air temperatures peak in the daytime, we start to see the air temperatures slowly drop. That's when that turn's going to occur. So, Ed, you and I talked about a visual. Well, the air is so dry right now, we may not get that visual until after the turn occurs. So you may not see a cumulus line building inland until after that turn has occurred, right? It takes some time to build that up. So I'll be looking at the weather balloon sounding. I'm not sure if that's available right now. I can take a quick peek at it, see if it is available. It's not quite up yet, so I don't have the weather balloon sounding to go on. But either way, we'll go with that. So we're going to go with 11 to 15 knots for the start at 9:30. We'll go down. We'll drop to 10 to 14 knots by 11 o'clock. 9 to 13. We could hold that 10 to 14 knots through the noontime period. And then as we go through 1, 2 o'clock, the wind's back northwest. We start to fade out knot by knot. Every 30 minutes or so, we drop another knot. And then my concern is that we get down to those really light values between 4 to 8 around 2 o'clock or 2 to 3. Watch for that west turn. Watch for even that southwest turn. Be ready for it to back at that time. So with that said, Ed, we're talking about the inshore courses. I'll do a quick blurb on the offshore, come back to you for the inshore. Again, these northerly winds will probably hold a little bit better offshore, a little bit stronger right now. We're seeing 19 to 25 at Capers near shore. So be anticipating a little bit more of an easterly element out here in the ocean, simply because of that relationship between land. As the sun comes up, you get that little bit of a turn along the immediate coast. That could pull into the harbor at times. If that impacts the harbor, we could see a little bit of a toggling between northeast. So we could go 20 degrees backing all the way to 340 degrees. So we've got to be just understand that the winds could toggle. I think inside the harbor though, it stays away from that. So we'll see what happens, but the offshore courses definitely start a little bit stronger and hold for a little bit longer. There'll be more wind out there than inside the Charleston area, especially when the peak heating starts to come up, by midday or so. It tends to shield it. So that's gonna be the forecast for today for the area. Tomorrow, it looks like we look at the Chutes Folly sensor, also zooming down into the James Island. This is a tempest sensor, which actually does really well from the northerly and westerly direction. So be sure to tune in. If you zoom in on SailFlow, you can see this station. I like to promote them. They got this tempest put into place some time ago, and it actually does pretty good. So give that a shot. 2 points of data right on either side of the race circles that you have. Tomorrow looks a little bit lighter. We're going to have to take this one by tomorrow morning. Looks like those northerly winds are going to come back overnight during the radiational cooling. We're going to have to watch for some lighter winds for tomorrow and backing as well a little sooner. So we'll take that one, but just keep in mind that tomorrow could be a very light wind day overall. So before we sign off, Ed, any final thoughts before we head off air?
Yeah, I think a couple of feature reminders. One, the current, especially as the breeze dies down, the current's going to be a big factor. Not that you're going to get in and out of it on one side or the other, but that it's going to change your lay lines and your timings. And yesterday, a lot of people got caught out being just surprised at how strong the current was relative to the wind. Think about it today and talk about it on board. And the second thing is, I love to, on these teams that I race on, I love to assign someone to be in charge of looking up the course and thinking, where are we going to be in 5 minutes and what's happening up the course? And I think a fair amount of these teams could help themselves by having somebody look up there and say, hey, there's much better breeze over on this side right now. Are we making a plan to get that way? Or hey, there's a big hole over there. We got to watch for that. Or hey, there's another fleet that's going to be all on top of us after we round this gate. Have we thought about that? And just look at the big picture a little bit, every few minutes and give the team an idea of what's coming up next. That can be really helpful. It doesn't have to be a super experienced high-end racer that does this. It can just be somebody who asks questions. Say, hey, do we need to worry about that? And that's a really good team support personnel.
Good. Thank you so much, Ed. Appreciate your insights as always.
One thing, Shea, is just a reminder that we had a good group yesterday, but we'd certainly like to have more folks come and join us. At 5:30 today, we'll do a debrief of today's racing with drone footage, and that'll be in the theater at the bow of the aircraft carrier. So come up there and join us 5:30 today.
Great. Thank you, Ed. Quick recap before we head out today. We're, again, 11 to 15 knots to start. We're routing 9 to 13 knots by noon, backing northwest in time, falling down 7 to 11, maybe get down to 4 to 8 knots between 1 and 2 o'clock as those winds back. We could see that westerly flow back. Be ready for this morning up until the race start to see anywhere between 340 degrees and 20 degrees. It may be oscillating a little bit out there in the harbor, but everybody have a good time today. Either way, Godspeed, good luck out there, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.